Now another rule in combinations. NCR plus NCR minus 1 is equal to N plus 1 CR. NCR plus NCR minus 1, a number just below R by 1 is equal to N plus 1 CR. We shall prove it. Left hand side is equal to NCR plus NCR minus 1. That is equal to N factorial divided by R factorial into N minus R factorial plus N factorial divided by R minus 1 factorial into N minus R minus 1 factorial. That is equal to N factorial by R factorial into N minus R factorial plus N factorial by R minus 1 factorial into N plus 1 minus R factorial. Now, how this N plus 1? Minus of R minus 1. R becomes negative and this negative 1 becomes positive. Minus of minus 1. That is N plus 1 minus R. Now, N factorial is common. That can be put outside into 1 by R factorial into N minus R factorial plus 1 by R minus 1 factorial into N plus 1 minus R factorial. Now, here see, LCM is R factorial into N plus 1 minus R factorial. N factorial into, in the denominator it is R factorial into N minus R factorial and R minus 1 factorial into N plus 1 minus R factorial of R factorial and R minus 1 factorial, the greater one is R factorial, therefore R factorial, and of N minus R factorial and N plus 1 minus R factorial, the greater one is N plus 1 minus R factorial, therefore we have written N plus 1 minus R factorial. The product of R factorial and N plus 1 minus R factorial will be the LCM of these two terms. Now, we shall divide the LCM by the denominator of the first term, R factorial and R factorial got cancelled. Then N plus 1 minus R factorial into R factorial divided by R factorial into N minus R factorial. That is, R factorial and R factorial got cancelled, and this number N plus 1 minus R is greater by 1 than N minus R. Therefore, on dividing N plus 1 minus R factorial divided by N minus R factorial, see, 10 factorial divided by 9 factorial is equal to 10. Similarly, here we will get N plus 1 minus R for the first one, and in the second, on division by R minus 1, we will get plus R. See, LCM of the denominators. You have written r factorial into n plus 1 minus r factorial. That is the common denominator, that LCM. Now this LCM is divided by this denominator. Thereby we got the number n plus 1 minus r. And that LCM is divided by this denominator. Thereby we got the number simply r. Now n factorial into, what is this? R minus, this is minus, this one plus. Therefore n factorial into n plus 1 divided by r factorial into n plus 1 minus r factorial. And what is it equal to? 5 factorial into 6 is equal to 6 factorial. Similarly, n factorial into n plus 1 is equal to n plus 1 factorial divided by r factorial into n plus 1 minus r factorial, and that must be equal to n plus 1 c r. N plus 1 cr must be n plus 1 factorial divided by r factorial into n plus 1 minus r factorial. That is the right hand side. So we have proved NCR is equal to, NCR plus NCR minus 1 is equal to n plus 1 CR. This is an important result. Example, 10C4 plus 10C, a number just below 4, that is 3. 10C4 plus 10C3 is equal to 11C4. Here, instead of n we have written 10, instead of r we have written 4, here also 10, then r minus 1, here it is 3. By the rule, 10C4 plus 10C3 must be equal to n plus 1, that is 10 plus 1, 11C4. Here it is 4 in place of r. All right.